Happy Friday to everybody.
Hello, hello.
Mr.
Hello
Mark.
and happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Cool. All right. So I guess we'll kick it off. Today is the third session of our tutorial series for the simulator, and we are going to start it off with an introduction and kind of overview of things. Let's call it, some of the theory and thinking behind the protocol functionality and the state transition functions, potentially referring, to the BIP15 document and Mark as the author. Maybe you can kick us off from here and give us some insight into this session.
Yeah. Can I share my screen on top of yours? How does this work?
That's a great question. I'll probably just stop sharing mine. That might be the easiest, but go ahead and share yours, and we can switch back over.
Okay. Can you guys see my screen right now?
Yep.
Okay, great. Okay, so we have, I just realized I shared my browser. That's fine. Okay, so I guess the purpose of today's demonstration is to have a look at sort of beginning the system, right? So after the system is created, we need to start doing stuff with different users and everything that we've created for them to do. And so there's this section in the document called Bootstrapping Behavior, where we basically start with an empty system that has nothing in it. And then we have a look at users interacting with the protocol and how this results in the creation of new vault balances, how the staking ledger is updated, what the pool token supply is, and how user funds and things are affected. And so I wanted to show what this would look like on Excel. I think this is how we started last time. So let's go ahead and do that. Mike, can you just confirm for me that you guys can see the spreadsheet?
Yep, you're good.
Cool. Okay, so when the system starts, right, we know that the vault has got nothing in it, and the BIP15 document starts with these tokens, and we ran into a sort of a bug that was due to something that we had added recently to gearing the simulator towards monitoring functions, which made it difficult for us to add USDC to essentially the list of available tokens. But Mike has recorded a sort of live debugging video, and that was appended to the end of the last meeting, and has been uploaded to YouTube. And so we're going to demonstrate just really quickly when we begin this demonstration again how to add like a token to the whitelist so that it's available for people to to interact with. But I think the correct context for today's demonstration is really to think of like these different objects, right? So we know we have a vault in the system, and we know that we have a staking ledger that monitors all of the tokens coming in. And then we also have a pool token supply that uses pro rata share to determine what each user is capable of withdrawing. Now, of course, when the system is completely fresh and there's nothing in it, then our three users, Alice, Bob, and Charlie, will have none of these pool tokens. But they will have like certain balances of other things, right? And I think I've discussed with Mike previously that what we're going to do is we're just going to let each one of these users have 1 million tokens apiece for each one of the tokens that we are using today. But I want to kind of just zoom out and show you what these kind of objects are looking looking like and what they're going to do. Because if you think for a second, okay, like what if what if Alice is going to do something here? So, for example, she may be contributing, let's say, half of her BNT. So this number is going to drop down to 500,000, and that means that the vault balance of BNT is going to have to go up by 500,000. Now, because this was a direct contribution directly to the vault at the time that there's nothing contributed to it already, then the staking ledger is also going to go up by 500,000. We're not going to get into a huge amount of theory, by the way, in these demonstrations. I'm going to refer to the Bit15 documentation for anyone who wants to know precisely how these things interact with each other. We're going to be focusing mostly on how the simulator deals with them. But you can see, like, just in this interaction, Alice, who started with 1 million BNT, has now contributed 500,000 of it, to the system, and that means that we need to generate some pool tokens for her. Now, by definition, when there are no pool tokens for a token yet, the exchange rate between them is defined as being 1-to-1. So the pool token supply in this case, because Alice, is creating all of them from nothing, is going to be exactly identical to the number of BNTs that she's added. And that means that all of the BNT supply in this case is going to be under Alice's ownership. So this is, just a really sort of manual way of showing what happens when, when a user is committing funds to the protocol. Now we should have a look at this situation and realize that we've lost a lot of information here, because as I was changing these cells around, we've lost the previous state of the system where, where the balances here were all zero and Alice still had 1 million of her BNT. Whereas in the simulator, you can kind of roll back, right, and see what the previous state was on that block, if you want to think of it that way. Whereas on Excel, it would be very difficult to do something like this, because I would need to create like this, maybe another tab at the bottom here, where each tab represents one step in the simulation or something like that. So I think, this is the best place to start, to show you that how to create the USDC token, which is something that we failed to do in the last demonstration. I apologize for that. We obviously should have run through everything prior to commencing the meeting. But that's okay. We'll do that for you right now. But this is the situation that we're going to start with, right? We're going to have these tokens. We're going to create the USDC token in the simulator so that it becomes available. If you want, we can create like USDT and DAI as well, for example. And we're going to create some users, and we're going to give them each 1 million of all of the different tokens. And then we're going to simulate what it would look like when users start to change their balances and change the vault and staking ledger balances, which results in a change in the pool token supply and the number of tokens that these users will hold. And then this is going to form the foundation for studying how the rest of the system is designed. So I hope that is clear and that you're familiar with what we did last time. So I'm going to hand it over to Mike, who's going to first create the USDC token, and then Mike, would you mind creating like a USDT and DAI token as well, just so that we have them there?
Yep. Cool.
Great. Over to you.
All right. Let me pull this back up. So where we left off last time, and Mark kind of mentioned that that during the live demo that we hit an issue with whitelisting a new token, USDC to be precise, and just want to give some more clarity on what that issue was. Basically, there was an assertion check that that if you're whitelisting a new token, you have a corresponding price feed that is going to be available for that token, right? And so we basically had a default price feed that did not include USDC last time, and therefore, when trying to whitelist it, it basically failed that assertion check. I've changed it at this point just to make sure that nobody else is going to run into that same issue. So now what it will do is it will create basically a dummy price feed for a new token that's been whitelisted, and it will set the price at 1-to-1 with BNT, right? And so just be aware that if down the road you're trying to use that token for something, that is how it is set up in the price feed itself. So
We'll revisit. Yeah, I was going to say we'll revisit some of these concepts later on in these meetings.
Right.
When we see how price feeds are being used to perform Monte Carlo simulations and other things that you might want to do. Just be aware that it's a thing that's there. It doesn't really affect, like we don't need a price feed for most functions, but when you're trying to simulate how the market behaves under certain situations, then these price feeds are really important. So it doesn't affect anything at the fundamental level, but it does affect one of the functions that the simulator can perform. Mike, now that you've changed where that assertion is and created the dummy price feed, can you, what's the command for people to update their simulator if they've already downloaded it and loaded it up in their local environment?
So I'm sorry, say that one more time. What is the command to do what?
So if they've already run the pip installer, then they'll have like the old version of the simulation.
Yeah.
Can they just run like an update command?
Yeah. In fact, perhaps the best thing to do would be to go to the GitHub repo and you can do, you can download the latest changes there. If that's probably what I'd recommend to do at the moment. But you can also do like a pip install update command for any new releases since depending on when the last time you installed it was. So either of those would work. I would suggest kind of going to the repo and downloading the code, and then you can just run Python setup.py install, and it runs the exact same script that the pip installer does. So it's just always a little bit, you can be sure that if you go there, you're going to be running the code that you see, and whereas the PyPy hosting is just it's only going to house the latest PyPy release. But nonetheless, let's and I'm happy to if you have any issues with that, or you need any more clarity, just drop a note in the chat, and we can definitely sort it out as needed. So we'll pick up where we started last time, which is importing the Bancor adapt class, initializing it, and right away we're just going to call describe, which is going to show basically the tokens that we have just out of the gate. We have a couple of them in here just as defaults to make it easier for users, and instead of having to do everything from scratch. This is basically what Mark referred to on his Excel spreadsheet, where the initial balances of everything are 0 when you first initialize. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to call whitelist token, and we're just going to put in the USDC token name. And you'll notice up here that the list of tokens that we currently have does not include USDC, right? We've got BNT, ETH, Link, a generic TKN token, WBTC, the corresponding pool tokens, and VBNT, but there is no USDC right out of the gate. So now we're going to go ahead, we're going to call whitelist token, and at this point you will see USDC show up here, BN USDC over here, and note that that basically gets us past where we hit an issue last time. If you want to, see what's happening a little bit lower level and kind of print out the dictionary of values that correspond with each token, you can call this v3 get state and then state.whitelist tokens, and you can see the set of whitelisted tokens as well as their corresponding trading fee value, BNT funding limit, external protection vault, and so forth that they're going to be starting out with. We can also see that the initial state of the system has no users. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to create a user, Alice. We're going to set Alice's user balance for our different tokens at $1 million, like Mark said, and maybe we can go ahead and just let's go ahead and do our two other tokens that you mentioned, Mark. Do plus, and we said USDT, and what was the other one?
DAI.
DAI, yeah. Okay, we're going to whitelist both of those. And then we're going to say that Alice is going to get 1 million of each of these. All right. And we'll go ahead and do the same for Bob. And now we can see Alice and Bob. They have 1 million of each of the corresponding tokens that we gave them, just like Mark had set up in his Excel spreadsheet. All the rest of the balances are still zero, and then we can go through and today we're gonna keep it pretty simple, but we want to do just a couple of quick deposits and kind of look how these balances transfer around in the system. So we're going to do 500,000 deposit for USDC for Alice here, and note that we can manually set like the timestamp. So you can think of the timestamp in the system to be very much like a block number. And so just like you would kind of iterate block numbers over time, you can do the same thing here with timestamps. So we can do a deposit, and now we see that that the USDC stake balance has $500,000 that Alice now has BN USDC of 500,000, and that her USDC balance has dropped to 500,000. So exactly as Mark kind of showed that happen on the Excel spreadsheet, we can see that here. We also see that the master vault balance has gone up as well. So if we want to do the same thing for ETH, we can do that, and you'll see that those balances change. Or I guess this time we only did 50,000, right? But the principle is the same. So we see that the amounts transfer around in the system. Bob, we can do. Bob is going to deposit 50,000, or we'll call it 500,000 of link, and the same thing. Now we can now we see that Bob's balances and his wallet have changed, and that the system overall updates as well. We'll do, I guess, one more of these for link with Bob. Notice we can iterate the timestamp here, just for no other reason that we just want to demonstrate how to do that. So at this point, we've we've made a bunch of deposits. There's now some liquidity in um, in these pools. And so we want to call enable trading, right? If you follow the BIP15 document in the bootstrapping section that Mark initially referred to, you'll note that there are some conditions that need to be met before before trading can be enabled. And so we needed to deposit some liquidity in these pools, and now we can call enable trading on them, which will kind of set us up nicely for next session. And finally, the last thing, if we call show history, we will get what is like a system snapshot over time, right? And we can see here that we've got not just one, but a number of different deposits from Alice, from Bob, and for each of the different tokens and the amounts, and kind of like the latest action is captured. We can see even that the enable trading it has its own kind of key, and so that over time, as you're tracking the different balances that go through the system, you can kind of work backwards and forwards as needed. And in one of the later sessions, what we'll do is even demonstrate that you have the ability to time travel. So, like, let's say that you do a trade in here or in some other action, and this is like after a long series of events, and you're like, oh wait, I want to undo that. I want to basically, just hit the undo button. But unfortunately, right, in the real world, there's no way to do that, of course. But in the simulator, you can do what we call a time travel, and that will allow you to go back to a historical timestamp, or and then from that historical timestamp, you could even travel forward, back into the future, so to speak, up until the timestamp that you're currently on, at least. So it's pretty flexible in that way, and that's primarily because if you're working in a Jupyter notebook and you did a transaction that you wanted to undo, without that time traveling ability, you would have to go and kind of rerun the whole notebook from the beginning in order to redo all the steps and get back to the same place that you were before you wanted to undo something. So the time travel feature is just kind of a convenience. When you're running a Monte Carlo or something like that with many transactions, it severely slows things down to maintain the ability to do that. And so it is like an option that you can turn on and off, and you want to turn it off if you're doing like a large scale simulation. But for the purposes of kind of doing this sort of thing, where you're just investigating like a couple actions and what the behavior is, then it's very nice to be able to go back and forth using that. And so I think that we're coming back, or we're coming up on the half an hour mark. Mark, do you have anything that I missed here, or?
No, not at all. I think that was, I think, right on the mark for what we wanted to achieve in the 30 minutes that we had today.
Perfect.
But I think maybe let's just bookend this. I'll share my screen again so that I can refer back to the BIP15 document.
Okay.
So anyone who, I think I just want to sort of make a recommendation for people that are doing like self-study or something, that I think now is kind of we're at that point in this lecture series where you can really start running your own values through the simulator and start to sort of reconstruct these hypothetical scenarios that that sort of fill the documentation in blockchain, right, to describe to users what's happening. And for people that are, watching these videos or attending these meetings with an ambition, to start their own projects and that kind of thing, I think that, this kind of document preparation, like exercise, is helpful. And so, one way that you can kind of audit what's written here is to like start at this, everything equals zero state, and then like just read through the hypothetical scenario and actually just call these commands in the simulator to confirm that it's actually giving you the results that are put here. And if you're still sort of finding your legs, why not start with a different set of tokens here? Like instead of ETH, BTC, and Link, you can use like, I don't know, like Aave and Arable and Crown or something, and run through your own hypothetical and like watch these vault balances increase, without the trading liquidity increasing, and then try and call the initialized pool function to see if there is sufficient trading liquidity in order to get these values and things. So I think it's just a recommendation with regards to how to sort of interact with this stuff. It's probably not enough to just listen to Mike and I talk about these things. It's helpful to go away and actually perform some of these things yourself and make sure that you're getting the results that you expected. So basically, what Mike has demonstrated for us today is all of the functions that you need to get up to the end of this section, right, which is the bootstrapping behavior part of the document. And so I think in the next session, we're basically going to be like following on from the rest of this document anyway, right? And so if you want a study guide, it kind of makes sense to sort of follow through these situations and make sure that you can get the simulator into the exact position that the document says it should be at before we begin the trading fees section of the during the next part of the course. But that's right on 30 minutes, I think. So that's really good time management, I think. And yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions. Obviously, Mike and I will be hanging out on Discord for a little while. But yeah, thank you everyone for coming, and I hope that you have a look at the live debugging that Mike did. That's now a part of the YouTube recording of the last session.
Great. We will post this one later today once I've got it uploaded and all that sort of stuff. Talk next session, which will be on Monday, and we'll kick it off there with trades and other actions to follow next week, including withdrawals and so forth. Thanks.